Hey there, everyone. On January 12th, Nintendo did their Switch presentation where they revealed a lot of information that we've been waiting to hear, hoping to hear, and today I just wanted to give my thoughts on some of the stuff that happened, some of the stuff that we got revealed to us. This is going to be more of a bullet point type. This is not anything that I have scripted out. I wrote down the bullet points as the event was going on because I wanted to keep watching it. I didn't want to do like the live tweet or anything, or the not the live tweet, I should say, the live streaming, because I wanted to focus more on what was happening and then try to bullet point what I thought about everything. All right, the first one we're going to start off March 3rd. Awesome. I was expecting the 17th, so that's 2 weeks before. So that's actually pretty cool. My wallet is not happy about that because it's a little bit sooner, but I wasn't even sure I was going to make March 17th. But it's actually not a problem either way, and we'll get into why that is later. $300 is the price point. That's pretty much what I was expecting. That's the top end of what I was expecting. I I'm okay with that, but from what they showed, I didn't see a pack-in game. And that's kind of a problem for me because $300 without a game at all isn't $300. $300 is, if it's just the system, you have to buy at least one game with it. So $300 instantly becomes 360. We're going to assume that the games are going to come out at $60 a piece. Paid online service later on. I'm kind of okay with that. I don't really. I never paid for Xbox Live. I don't bother with the Xbox Live Gold, and I haven't gotten a PS4 yet, so I don't really do the paid online like long term services. So we'll have to see how much it is and what we get for it. If there are games that we're going to be able to get for free, virtual console games or whatever, they didn't talk about that, which kind of bothers me a little bit. But as far as playing older games, maybe we get access to some kind of games for the monthly fee. But they didn't talk about any of that yet. We have plenty of time for that, so I'm not too concerned with it. Plus, we're getting it for free until I think they said the fall, so we have time to decide whether or not that's something we want to pay for and see what benefits we get for even having it in the first place, other than online multiplayer, which is kind of important for certain games, especially nowadays. Nowadays gaming without online service is, unless it's like an RPG or something that you are intended to play on your own, can be kind of a death sentence for. I don't want to say death sentence, but it does kind of stink to not have that as an option. No region lock. No region lock is awesome. I'm actually really kind of excited about that. That I have a lot of import games, and I like import gaming. I like the idea that it opens up a different selection of games just in case. There's always certain games. A lot of the major RPGs, if they're pure Japanese, I, there isn't much I can do about playing them. But you get games like shooters. You get stuff like that, puzzle games that come out that you don't really need to speak whatever language it's from, but it's you have it as an option to play. Fighting games especially. If you're a fighting game fan, if you've been in the fighting game, the fan base of fighting games for a while, you know that there are tons of fighting games that don't come out here that we would love to see, and now we can actually play them, which is awesome. They kept talking about Switch DNA, which is just the idea that they're taking things from their old systems and utilizing them. It seemed like a little bit of a gimmicky topic. It seemed a little weird to me. Uh, they mentioned you have different ways to play, which is the tabletop version. You can play it on the go, or you can play it on your TV, which is they called it typical video game style, which seems kind of weird for Nintendo to be saying that, but it is nice to see that they are kind of focused on playing on your TV as a kind of gameplay. They jam that stuff down our throats before with you gotta play with the dual screens, or you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and it always comes across as gimmicky. And anybody who's been a Nintendo fan for a long time knows that sometimes their gimmicks work, sometimes they don't. I mean, the Wii with the Wiimote was kind of a fluke, but we're kind of over that, and we would like to at least have the focus be on regular video game play like normal, and then the gimmick should feel like an option. And Nintendo hasn't been doing that lately, so now it looks like they're going to try and do that again. So I'm very, very happy with that. They they push these Joy-Con things, which the Joy-Con sounds super cool, and it is super cool. I mean, from what I see, it's very awesome. Unfortunately, I have big hands, so that Joy-Con does not look comfortable at all. There's no way I am going to be able to comfortably play that, considering that the joystick was almost right on top of the buttons. For the motion games, it should be fine, but with the regular style gameplay, no, that ain't gonna work for me. So hopefully they release some Joy-Cons that are different shapes, larger, the buttons are more separated, just some kind of option, something to make it a little bit more comfortable, because unless you have 12-year-olds hands, there's going to be a lot of us that's not a comfortable controller to use. I love the local multiplayer. I love local multiplayer, and I feel like that's been missing a lot from video games. It's a little weird. It kind of stinks that everybody's going to have their own system, but I go to conventions and there's no shortage of 3DSs. Everybody talks about how, I remember when they were first talking about the local multiplayer with the Switch, and people were saying, oh, but everybody's going to have their own Switch. Everybody has their own 3DS. So it's not really a big deal. I mean, this isn't grabbing your PlayStation 4 or your Xbox One and walking around with it. This is a Switch. It's built to be portable. At $300, it's relatively affordable, so it's not going to be a problem that everybody who wants to play one is going to have one. So that's not really that big of a deal. They talked about the share button, which you could share screenshots and stuff like that. I really hope the Miiverse sticks around. I actually did like the Miiverse for a while that I was using it. It was very cool. It was probably one of the more active of social media type things built into a system that I've ever encountered. I hope they do a little bit more with it. They talked about 2 controllers because it was the Joy-Cons. Come on, that's a gimmicky controller for gimmicky games that use it. That's not a full-blown controller. So it's not like it comes with 2 pro controllers. He says that they feel very natural. I don't think so. I did like the new colors. I know that that's sort of a hokey, I use the word gimmicky a lot, and adding extra colors always feels that way. But I like them. It's a nice little choice. I love the little strappy thing that came with it. It added a little more thickness to the controller, and it without feeling too invasive. So I actually really like those things. They talked about the HD Rumble, which was, he had this thing with like ice was falling into the cup, and you could tell it was ice in a glass. You could tell it was 2 cubes and 3 cubes. I don't know what the hell it's supposed to mean. I really didn't. I didn't get. It's just, the rumble is so sensitive that you can tell that it's ice. That seemed a little odd to me, but it at least, at the very least, it piqued my interest to see what he was talking about. Then they started talking about the games. First of all, I thought it was a Mad Dog McCree game with the whole Western theme, but they were talking about 1-2 Switch, which was a very party game-ish, which is, like Wii Sports and stuff like that. There's always something like that. I don't remember what they said the date was. I'm not sure maybe if they're intending for that to be the pack-in game. It was an interesting concept where I guess the screen is actually going to be utilized more as something like a keyboard or a scoreboard. And there maybe it'll put out audio cues for the things that you guys are supposed to do in the games. Based on some of the imagery that they showed, it'll be like someone's going to slash a sword and someone's got to move their hands to try and stop it. Or there was the quick draw game, Your typical ping pong style games and stuff like that. It seemed very interesting. I can't wait to get hammered and play some of that. Don't drink if you're under 21. Uh, then we have the game called Arms, which was like it was like Battle Twizzlers. They had these springy arms and they were fighting back and forth at each other. It seemed like a very interesting concept. When I watched the video, I got horrible flashbacks of all the sweating I did playing the Wii Boxing. Unfortunately, I also got a lot of flashbacks of the only kind of accurate controls from the Wii Boxing. You know, they were very good, but it was not 100% accurate, so it did get a little bit frustrating. I'm interested to see what they do with a full-blown game. I mean, obviously the Wii Boxing was part of the Wii Sports, so it was not a fully fleshed out game. So I'm interested to see how a fleshed out version of that will do and what they can add to the game. Then they did one of the ones that I've been waiting for. They showed a lot. Didn't talk about it much, but they showed a lot of Splatoon 2. I was freaking out. I was freaking out. I love Splatoon. From the first time I saw Splatoon in the E3 presentation, I was ridiculously excited. Like it was embarrassing how excited I was. I mean, that inspired me to do cosplay for the first time. That was my first cosplay character I ever did was a Splatoon character, and it was because I saw the presentation and I looked at those characters and said, they're super cool. This game looks super fun. I definitely want to do this. So knowing that there was going to be some information about Splatoon 2 just made me super excited, and I was blown away by what I saw. I mean, the new weapons, the new looks, everything just looks great. Again, I'm hoping for a fleshed out single player mode, but what I saw was awesome. I absolutely am in love with the idea of this as a local multiplayer game as opposed to just online. I'm a little bummed out that it's going to be in the summer, but I can't wait. This is one of those games where I don't mind if you take your time and you do it right. That's cool. And then it's Mario time, which was the Mario Odyssey game, or it kind of looks like Mario Adventure. If Sonic Adventure, he went out into what looked like the real world. I don't know. I was always used to, Sonic on the Genesis, where it was, Green Hill Zone and the Casino Zone and all that stuff. So it was weird to see Sonic go into a city. And that was when I first saw Mario in the city atmosphere. That was my first thought, was he's in the city. It's very weird. He's hanging around with people who are normally proportioned, and they don't seem to think about the fact that he's very oddly proportioned. It was probably all the mushrooms, but it was interesting to see. I thought it was going to be Mario Galaxy 3, which for all intents and purposes it is. It still looks good though. It still looks interesting. It's still got your basic premise. It looks like Bowser kidnaps the princess and you got to rescue her. But it looks like it's going to take us into very, very different places with very different characters. And I'm interested to see that. I'm interested to see not just another giant Goomba with different features. I'm interested to see where it take. Mario was always notorious for being delightfully whimsical, and so I would love to see where it goes from there. And it doesn't seem like something that necessarily needs to be on the Switch, but regardless, it looks really cool, and I definitely want to play it. Xenoblade 2, I think was kind of a surprise for me. I was expecting just a port of Xenoblade Chronicles, and so it was kind of a surprise to me to see that. Not a bad surprise. It looked beautiful. I mean, it looked fantastic. I can't wait to actually see it. But it was a little bit of a shock to me. So it's hard to have anything to say about it because I wasn't really expecting anything like that. Then they showed Fire Emblem Warriors, and that was over. It, I mean, they showed one quick thing about it, and then they mentioned that that's what it was, and it would have been nice to see it. The Warriors games were always good pick up and play games, so I never had anything against them, and I never really felt anything strongly towards them. But it would have at least been nice to see because I think Fire Emblem actually lends itself very well to that sort of setup. You know, it's so many characters, so many enemies. So I think it would have been really cool. We just didn't really get to see it. I was hoping for a lot more discussion about third party games, and he mentioned the third parties, and then they talked about Dragon Quest 10 and 11, which is very exciting, and Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2. So I am interested to see those. I got out of, I haven't really played much Dragon Quest, so I would like to get back into it. And the fact that they are coming out is nice to see. Again, I don't know if they're coming out to the US or just Japan, but because of the lack of region locking, in a way we'll be able to play it anyway, which is very cool. Same with the Shin Megami Tensei. Uh, again, I didn't play too much of it, but I know people that are wildly into it. So it's nice that that's coming out. It's nice that it got a mention. Now, Octopath Traveler. That looks right up my alley. This is a traditional style RPG, but with modern graphic elements to it. And that looked beautiful. It caught my attention immediately. And I'm glad to see what I understand to be a new IP. Because I'm not familiar if anybody knows if there were other Octopath Traveler games or something, or if this is based on something else. But I could have sworn I remember him saying that it was brand new. So I'm interested to see where this goes. Skyrim came out. I never got to play Skyrim. A lot of people talked about Skyrim, and they made it sound like it was very, very, very open world. And that is actually kind of a detractor for me. I like to know that when I go into my game, there is going to be some kind of direction. In speaking with people, they have told me that there is actually more direction than I've been led to believe. But I never really got to play it. I never had any interest in it because it's so open world. And so, I mean, this would probably be my chance to play it. I'm hoping that since it's an older game, when it does come out, it'll come out at $20 or $30, something a little bit more affordable. Because it's going to be tough for me to justify $60 for a game that's been out for years, that if I do want to play it, I can probably go to a store and get it for $10. So it'll be hard for me to pay $60 for it. And as far as the whole, you can take the game with you wherever you want, judging by the way people talk, Skyrim is not the kind of game that I should be able to take to work. This is probably the kind of game that should stay at home, and then when I leave for work, it stays at home. Then EA showed up, so that was a good chance for me to go to the bathroom and, catch up on my live tweeting. But they talked about FIFA. It's FIFA. I just have no interest in that. I have no interest in, usually they're sports games. It's sports simulation. I know there are people who are super dedicated to it. I am just not one of them, and I can't even pretend to be. Sorry, guys. Then Reggie showed up, so we were happy. We're always happy to see Reggie. And he led us into Breath of the Wild. And I gotta say, finally with this game, it's starting to look like a game. Up until now, I have not been excited about this game. Everybody has been talking about it, but what I mentioned earlier about open world games has been applying to this game. Every time I see it, all they talk about is how big it is and how vast and vastly expansive it is, and how you see that mountain in the background, you can go all the way to that mountain and you can do this and you can fight these animals and collect these things. And at no point was anybody talking about a storyline or other characters or what my goals were. You know, they were saying, "Oh, you can go to the end dungeon from the beginning of the game." What would drive me to do that? I have no idea what this game is actually about. All you've given me is a giant sandbox to run around in, and let's be honest here, running around in an open world without a purpose is not worth $60. I don't care how great it looks. But finally, what I'm seeing is a real game. I'm seeing storyline and characters and a purpose. It looks interesting. I am finally excited about it. So I can honestly say that Breath of the Wild is now something I'm waiting for. And as far as the date that it comes out, that's a day one title. So that's, I mean, if you've been waiting for a reason to buy the Switch or try and pre-order it, I think that's a pretty good reason. You know, before all of this, if you would have told me that the Switch was coming out and the Zelda game was a day one launch title, I wouldn't have cared. Because what I've seen up until this point was not a game that I was interested in. Now I'm interested in Zelda. And now I'm interested in the Switch. But again, the $300 price point immediately just became $360. And that's before tax. So it's, overall, I was pretty excited. There were my standard disappointments, which I don't get too worked up about. You know, I'm tired of being disappointed that there's no Metroid game being mentioned. I was expecting a few more first party things. I was expecting maybe a Pikmin announcement. There was nothing for F-Zero. I was interested in, there was no Mario Kart talk, but I was interested in a Mario Kart or F-Zero local multiplayer game, like just a racing type game. I know that there was some information released the other day about a possible arcade stick, so I was interested in some information about an arcade game. They did show a flash of a few games, and I believe they showed F-Zero, but what I saw was, I think, F-Zero X, and I know for a fact I saw Street Fighter Alpha 1 because they were showing the Kenenru versus Bison feature, which was a feature on Street Fighter Alpha 1. So I'm guessing maybe that's a hint at what their sort of eShop is going to be. Again, they didn't talk about it. They just showed it in flashes towards the end, which, you know, that's always nice to raise a bunch of questions at the end. It seems like a kind of a jerky move, but realistically, it sparks our interest, and I like that sort of thing. You know, it's going to keep us talking for the next couple of months about what we saw. Overall, I was pretty happy with it. Let me know what you guys thought. What did you see that you liked? What did you see that you didn't like? What didn't you see that you wanted to see? What your expectations are? Will you be getting this first day, first month, or is this something that you're just gonna just sort of wait and see? I can tell you with the Wii U, I actually waited. I didn't get a Wii U until the Mario Kart bundle came out, and even then it was because I had my birthday coming up, so I asked for it as a gift. But then I was also able to get a big discount on it because I was working at the store that I bought it at. So it was sort of right place, right time. The Switch, I believe that if my money is right, I'll try and get it as early as possible. But I don't think it'll break my heart if I don't. But let me know what you guys thought of everything. And all right, take it easy, guys. Have a good night. Happy gaming.